Guys, welcome to my new series. This is called Drift Car Review. It's now because Specialty Skids was, to be honest, doing quite poorly and it wasn't too interesting, to be honest. I asked a few people and they weren't fond of it. I asked what new series should I do, and I got a couple bits of feedback from a couple different people. How I could improve, what was wrong with my Specialty Skids, and I've created this. So as I said, it's called Drift Car Review. It's going to be every week like Specialty Skids, and each week we will take two cars of a homologated division and we will put them up against each other. So for the first month, as I didn't get any suggestions, I chose, and we are doing the BMW 850 CSI and the G35. Now what I should explain is that for the first 3 weeks of the month we will do two cars per episode, comparing them against each other, the benefits, the drawbacks of each car, and which I personally think are the best. Then on the fourth week of that month we will have three winners from each week, and we will compare those three and what I will determine as the best car of the month and of that division. So this month we are doing the early sport luxury division. So leave down in the comments below if you would like what two cars you would like to see me do next week from this division. You can see me scrolling through the list here. These are your options. Otherwise you can just go and have a look yourself. Okay, so the two cars I went for in this division for this week were two cars that I felt fit pretty well together. We have the BMW 850 CSI and the Infiniti G35. I thought these cars would go well together due to they're both being fairly similar sizes compared to the other cars in this pack, and also having fairly large powerful engines. The BMW of course having a 5 litre V10 and the G35 having a slightly smaller 3.5 litre V6, however certainly not underpowered in any way. Anyway, let's get into the review. So let's start with the 850 CSI BMW. So the main good point of this car is that it is extremely smooth in drift. It doesn't have much fluctuation and it's very easy to stay on the throttle despite low 600 horsepower, a fair amount. However, it is a little heavy, so with full race reduction you have to have 305s because it will weigh over 3,300, nearly 3,400 pounds with race weight reduction. Okay, this does make it fairly fast though, with the high levels of grip. Then in terms of the engine, the power delivery is actually extremely smooth despite the turbo. I wouldn't like a turbo, but to get the amount of power you need to break traction in 305s and that weight, you need around 600 horsepower for it to be competitive. And I built all these cars to the SDA specs, by the way, so that's why. So despite the turbos, it has got extremely smooth power delivery. They are stock turbos, not upgraded, but there you go. It also didn't have much turbo lag compared to a lot of cars, and that's due to it only having low amounts of boost with the stock turbos. Some more downsides of this car is that this car is extremely long. These cars are both quite long, but this one is extremely long. So on tracks like Long Beach and Road Atlanta, it can become an issue. As well as this, due to its weight and due to its size, if you are in tandem and the lead driver makes a mistake and you have to adjust to it quickly, it is hard to do. With the G35 it's a bit more agile, so if that mistake is made you can correct yourself from following that mistake. This car you kind of just once you're committed, that's it. Okay, now on to the G35. So the G35, despite these two cars being fairly similar, they're almost polar opposites in terms of drifting style. So the G35 is a much lighter car with the ideal tyre to weight ratio for me. I was running 3,100 pounds, and that's in the lower end of the 3,100, not near 3,200 like the BMW was up to its upper class. So it's light and it has 295s, and it still has around 600 horsepower. I think it was just below 600 this car, just to make up for that weight difference, so I could stay on the throttle a bit easier. Now with this lightness comes more agility. As with the BMW, we were struggling for adjusting to different angles, quickly or different lines quickly. This car will adjust to that angle and that line a lot quicker. The only downside this has is it does make it slightly less smooth. You have to be very careful on the wheel or on the controller if that's what you use in order to stay smooth, and then if you overcorrect, that's you gone. However, this car is, as I said, much lighter, which does make it much more chuckable into fast corners. You can just throw it and it will get to angle extremely quickly. Now, as I should mention, both of these cars can reach the same amount of angle. One doesn't have more lock than the other, and they certainly don't have any limitations in their style. However, the G35 does get to its angle a lot quicker, which of course backs up what I said about adjustments. Now, this G35 is a bit less horsepower, as I mentioned earlier. However, it has more torque per horsepower in this car, and you can definitely feel that when you're drifting. The wheels want to spin a bit more, even though it has less horsepower. It certainly doesn't have a lack of torque. This does make it slightly, and I mean slightly, slower than the 850 due to its extra spinniness, whatever. But it does make it easier to tandem at slow speeds, which is something to mention. Now for the overall comparison. So both of these cars have actually a lot of body options available. Most cars don't come with much, just Forza Aero. These actually have bumpers, front and rear, they have hoods, they have side skirts, and all of that. Okay, so they both have good body options, so if you're someone who likes that, you're not going to be bored with these cars. So the BMW has its limitations due to its size, so it doesn't work as well on tight tracks as the G35, but it is slightly faster, so in quick tracks it may have the edge due to its speed and its stability. And onto stability, it does make it easier to tandem the BMW because it's easier to be smooth in tandem. If someone, slows down, you can hit the brakes without worrying about spinning out. However, if there is a big mistake the leader does, like the wrong line, as I mentioned already, it is harder to adjust. So the other thing is the G35 does have a more responsive engine due to it being naturally aspirated against the BMW's turbocharged engine. However, the 850 actually has smoother power delivery, I find, and I can't really explain it other than it has more cylinders. So yeah, that's my guess. In conclusion, I would rather use the 850 myself personally in a comp, purely because of its reliability and predictability. However, I do find the G35 more fun to drive with friends, as despite it being a little harder to tandem, it is easier to react to a possible lead driver mistake, which of course happens more in standard tandem lobbies than it does in a comp where people are trying to take the correct line. Overall though, the 850 does win it for me. It has smooth power delivery, it's extremely fast, and it is silky smooth, both in solo runs and in tandem. Its reliability is what won it, but both of these cars are certainly worth a try. They do have their tunes up on the storefront. If you want to find them and give them a go, they are for a wheel on 900, but they do work for a controller if you want, or lower rotations. Just search DCR M1E1 for month 1 episode 1 in the description, and I think you'll find them called DCR with their power number. So I think the BMW is DCR 610 HP, for example. Anyway guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Hope you enjoy it, hope to see the feedback on it, and I hope that it does a bit better than specialty skids, but that's for you guys to judge. Anyway guys, peace out, I'll catch you later.